Strange arrivals. The first ship arrived during the midnight shift at Orbital Maintenance Facility 7, materializing in a flash of blue light that temporarily blinded the station's sensors. Chief Engineer Maya Chen was halfway through her third cup of synthetic coffee when the proximity alarms blared across the command deck. "Unidentified vessel has breached perimeter defenses," announced the station's eye. "Unknown configuration. No transponder signal detected." Maya set down her mug, the fatigue of her 12-hour shift instantly forgotten. On screen, the holographic display flickered to life, revealing a sleek vessel unlike any she'd ever seen. Its hull shimmered with an iridescent material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the station's exterior lights. No visible propulsion systems, no weapons arrays, no communication dishes. Just smooth, elegant lines that reminded Maya of deep-sea predators from Earth's oceans. "Scan for life signs," she ordered. "None detected," replied the AI. "However, vessel appears to be operating on minimal power. Systems are active but dormant." Maya's second-in-command, Raj Patel, joined her at the console. "First contact," he whispered, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Maybe." Maya frowned. "But why arrive at a repair facility instead of one of the diplomatic hubs? Send out the standard greeting packet on all frequencies and alert Earth Command." The vessel didn't respond to communications, but it didn't resist when the station's tractor beams guided it into the largest maintenance bay. Maya led the inspection team personally, her engineering curiosity overwhelming any sense of caution. Dressed in a standard EVA suit with enhanced diagnostic capabilities, she was the first human to place her hand on the mysterious hull. "The material feels almost organic," she reported, her helmet camera transmitting back to the command center. "But readings indicated some kind of metal composite I've never encountered before." Finding the airlock took nearly an hour. It was seamlessly integrated into the hull design. Opening it took another 2 hours as Maya's team deciphered the unusual control systems. When the door finally slid open with a soft hiss, Maya hesitated only briefly before stepping inside. The interior was even more perplexing than the exterior. The corridors curved at odd angles, yet Maya navigated them with surprising ease, as if the ship's layout followed some intuitive pattern her mind recognized unconsciously. The lighting adjusted automatically as she moved, emanating from the walls themselves rather than from discrete fixtures. "This doesn't make sense," Raj commented through the comm channel. "The technology is clearly beyond our capabilities, but something about it feels familiar." Maya stopped abruptly as she reached what appeared to be the bridge. Unlike the cramped command centers of Earth vessels, this was a spacious chamber with a panoramic view screen and a single ergonomic chair positioned before a curved console. What caught her attention, however, was the script scrolling across the screens. English. "That's impossible," she whispered, approaching the console. "How would an alien vessel have interfaces in our language?" When she touched the console, the ship awakened. Lights brightened, systems hummed to life, and a voice, pleasant, gender-neutral, and speaking perfect English, addressed her directly. "Repair diagnostic interface activated. Welcome, Engineer Chen." Maya stumbled backward. "How do you know my name?" "Biometric scan complete. Identity confirmed. Chief Engineer Maya Chen, Orbital Maintenance Facility 7, Earth Defense Force." Over the next 48 hours, Maya barely left the mysterious vessel. The more she explored its systems, the more confounded she became. The technology was undeniably advanced, perhaps centuries beyond current human capabilities, yet the underlying architecture was unmistakably based on human engineering principles. It was as if someone had taken Earth's shipbuilding techniques and evolved them through dozens of iterations. The true shock came when Maya discovered the manufacturer's mark embedded in the ship's primary computer core, a stylized logo bearing the words, "Ganymede Shipyards, Sol System," and a production date, 2387, more than 2 centuries in the future. Before Maya could fully process this discovery, Two more vessels appeared at the edge of the station's scanning range, different in design from the first, but emanating the same unusual energy signature. One resembled a crystalline lattice structure, beautiful and delicate. The other was bulbous and organic-looking. Both were clearly not human in origin, yet both responded to standard Earth Defense Force hailing frequencies. Earth Command established a special investigation team led by Dr. Eleanor Webb, the foremost expert in theoretical physics, and Admiral James Zhang, head of Earth's Defense Forces. Maya found herself appointed as Chief Technical Liaison due to her familiarity with the first vessel. These ships shouldn't exist, Dr. Webb stated during their first briefing. Not only is the technology beyond our current capabilities, but the quantum signatures indicate temporal displacement. You're saying they're from the future? Admiral Zhang's expression remained skeptical. Not just from the future, Webb replied, displaying holographic schematics of all three vessels. Based on Chief Chen's findings, I believe the first ship is indeed of human origin, from approximately 230 years in our future. The other two appear to be alien designs, but she highlighted sections of the engine cores. All three utilize virtually identical propulsion systems based on human engineering principles. Maya leaned forward. Are you suggesting that in the future, we become the shipbuilders for other species? That's precisely what I'm suggesting, Webb confirmed. But the question remains, why are these vessels appearing now, in our time? And why are they arriving damaged, requiring repairs? The answer began to emerge when Maya accessed the first vessel's navigational logs. The data was fragmented, but she managed to extract coordinates and timestamps that Dr. Webb converted into a coherent flight path. According to the logs, the ship had been en route to a stellar region near Ta City when it encountered what the system designated as a temporal fracture, a tear in the fabric of space-time that had yanked it backward centuries and deposited it near Earth. It wasn't deliberate time travel, Maya explained to the assembled team. It was an accident. The ship was caught in some kind of temporal storm. The other vessels show similar patterns, Webb added. Different points of origin, different time periods, but all encountering the same type of phenomenon before appearing here. As they spoke, alerts sounded throughout the station. A fourth ship had arrived, larger than the others and clearly designed for war. Its hull bristled with weapon emplacements, and unlike the previous vessels, this one was broadcasting a message on all frequencies. "Attention Earth Facility," came a guttural voice as the message was translated through the station's systems. "We are the Draconis Imperium. We seek emergency repairs following catastrophic systems failure. Grant us immediate docking clearance or face the consequences of your defiance." Maya exchanged troubled glances with Admiral Zhang. The first diplomatic crisis involving their mysterious visitors had begun, and humanity was wholly unprepared for negotiating with a militaristic species from the future. "One thing is clear," Zhang muttered as they hurried toward the communication hub. "Whatever humanity becomes in the future, we've made some powerful friends and equally powerful enemies." As the Draconis warship maneuvered toward the station, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that these arrivals were just the beginning of something far more significant than anyone realized. The mystery of the ships was only part of a larger puzzle, one whose solution might determine the future of humanity itself. In the engineering bay, the first vessel's systems continued to analyze Maya's repair efforts, its AI interface displaying a countdown that no one on the station had initiated or could explain. A countdown to what? Maya couldn't say, but she suspected they would all find out soon enough. Echoes of tomorrow. The Draconis warship docked with barely contained aggression, its massive bulk dwarfing the station's largest maintenance bay. Ambassador Linway, Earth's most experienced diplomat, struggled to maintain composure as the ship's commander. A towering reptilian being with scales that shimmered like polished obsidian, made demands rather than requests. "Our temporal displacement was no accident," Commander Kraz hissed, mandibles clicking with each syllable. "The humans of our era created the distortion deliberately to eliminate our fleet. That's absurd, Admiral Zhang countered. We have no capability for temporal warfare. Not yet, Kraz's multifaceted eyes narrowed. But you will develop it, and when you do, your descendants will use it against species you deem threats to your galactic dominance. While diplomats and military officials handled the increasingly tense negotiations, Maya continued her investigation of the first vessel, the human-built ship from the furthest point in the future. Something about the countdown bothered her. It wasn't counting toward zero, as she'd initially assumed, but rather synchronizing with other systems throughout the ship, as if preparing for some coordinated action. "Dr. Webb," Maya called over the comm. "I think you should see this." The physicist arrived within minutes, her usual composure shaken by the draconous situation. "What have you found?" Maya pointed to the navigational display where a complex pattern of energy signatures was forming. "I think all these ships are connected to the same temporal event. Look at these resonance patterns. They're identical across every vessel, despite their different origins." Webb's eyes widened as she analyzed the data. This isn't random. These ships aren't just falling through time. They're being pulled toward a specific point. She tapped commands into her tablet, correlating the patterns, a temporal anchor point. The source of the distortion. And it's here. On Earth. "Not just on Earth," Webb replied grimly. "If my calculations are correct, it's right here on this station. Right now." The revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation team. If the station itself was the focal point of a temporal distortion powerful enough to pull ships from centuries in the future, then everyone aboard was in potential danger. Admiral Zhang immediately ordered non-essential personnel to evacuate, but Maya couldn't leave, not until she understood what was happening. Her answer came from the most unexpected source. A hidden compartment within the human vessel that her scans hadn't detected until the countdown reached a specific sequence. The compartment contained a stasis pod, and within it, a human woman appeared to be sleeping. According to the pod's readings, she had been in suspended animation for over 40 years of her personal timeline. "We need to wake her," Maya insisted over Zhang's objections. "She might be the only one who understands what's happening." The woman's eyes snapped open the moment the stasis field deactivated. Sharp, intelligent eyes that assessed Maya, Webb, and Zhang with immediate recognition. "Right on schedule," she said, her voice strong despite decades of disuse. "I'm Dr. Ileana Chen, Temporal Mechanics Division, Earth Science Academy, 2387. Maya stared in shock. "Chen. Like me." The woman smiled faintly. "Not like you. You are my ancestor, Maya. I had your journals as a child. Your discoveries during this very crisis founded the field of temporal mechanics that eventually led to my work." Ileana explained that in her time, humanity had indeed become the premier shipbuilders of the galaxy, their vessels prized by dozens of species for reliability and innovative design. The temporal fractures began appearing approximately 50 years before her birth, mysterious distortions that occasionally swallowed ships and never returned them. "We didn't understand what was happening until it was almost too late," Ileana continued, accepting the hydration pack Webb offered. The fractures were symptoms of a much larger problem. Reality itself was becoming unstable due to paradoxical technology we developed. According to Ileana, her era had created a revolutionary propulsion system called the quantum fold drive, which allowed instantaneous travel between any 2 points in space. What they didn't realize was that each activation of the drive created minute tears in space-time, tears that eventually began to expand and connect, forming the temporal fractures. "The shifts you're seeing weren't just randomly pulled through time," she explained. "They're all connected to the first test of the quantum fold technology, the moment when the initial tear formed. They're being drawn to the origin point of the very technology that will eventually displace them." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "And that origin point is here, on this station." Ileana nodded solemnly. "The fundamental breakthrough that eventually leads to the quantum fold drive comes from your examination of these very ships. It's a perfect causal loop, The technology creates the fractures that send the ships back in time, where you study them and develop the principles that will eventually create the technology. That's impossible, Admiral Zhang protested. The perfect paradox can't sustain itself. That's exactly the problem, Ileana agreed. It can't. The loop is becoming unstable with each iteration, the fractures growing larger, pulling in more ships from different points in time. If we don't break the cycle, the temporal instability will eventually tear apart the fabric of space-time itself, starting with Earth and expanding outward. As if to emphasize her point, alarms blared throughout the station. 3 more ships had appeared simultaneously, one materializing partially inside the station's outer hull. The resulting spatial overlap caused a catastrophic breach that emergency systems barely contained. "It's accelerating," Webb said, checking the readings on her tablet. "The fractures are growing exponentially." Ileana struggled to her feet, still weak from her long stasis. "I came back to prevent this. I have the complete schematics for the quantum fold drive and detailed records of where the theory went wrong. We need to ensure this knowledge is preserved, but never implemented as we designed it." "And what about the ships already here?" Maya asked. "The Draconis commander is threatening military action if we don't repair their vessel." "We can't send them back to their own times," Ileana said. "The fractures don't work that way. But we can stabilize this timeline by preventing the creation of the quantum fold technology in its flawed form." The station shuddered as another vessel appeared dangerously close to the main reactor. Structural integrity warnings flashed across every terminal. "We're out of time," Admiral Zhang declared. "Dr. Chen, both of you, what do we need to do?" Ileana and Maya exchanged a look of perfect understanding, the kind that might exist between minds separated by centuries, but connected by blood and shared brilliance. "We need to create a temporal dampening field," Ileana said. "It won't close the existing fractures, but it will prevent new ones from forming and stabilize the ones that already exist." "The station's power grid can't generate that kind of energy," Webb objected. Maya's mind raced through possibilities. The Draconis warship. Its power core is based on antimatter containment. If we could reconfigure it. "They'll never agree," Zhang said. "They blame humans for their situation." "Then we don't ask," Maya replied grimly. "We need to survive long enough to prevent this technology from destroying reality itself. That takes priority over diplomatic niceties." What followed was a desperate race against time. While Zhang and military personnel created a diversion, Maya, Ileana, and a small team of engineers infiltrated the Draconis vessel. The ship's exotic power systems were beyond current human technology, but with Ileana's future knowledge and Maya's intuitive understanding of engineering principles, they managed to reconfigure the antimatter containment field to generate a temporal dampening wave. The Draconis discovered their presence too late. As Commander Kraz and his security forces cornered them in the engine room, Maya activated the modified systems. A wave of energy pulsed outward from the ship, expanding to encompass the entire station and beyond. Time itself seemed to pause for a heartbeat. Then, with a sound like the universe taking a deep breath, the fractures stabilized. The constant arrival of new vessels ceased. "What have you done?" Kraz demanded. "Weapons trained on the humans." "Saved all of us," Ileana replied calmly. "Including you, Commander." The temporal fractures were expanding. Eventually, they would have torn apart reality itself. In the aftermath, an uneasy peace was established between Earth and the displaced vessels. The immediate crisis had been averted, but the larger problem remained. The knowledge gained from studying these ships would eventually lead to the development of the very technology that caused the problem. "So what do we do?" Maya asked Ileana as they stood in the observation deck, watching engineers from a dozen species, humans and aliens alike, working together to repair the damage to the station. "If we suppress this knowledge, we prevent centuries of technological advancement that benefits countless species. If we allow it to develop, we potentially doom reality itself." Ileana smiled. the same determined expression Maya had seen in the mirror countless times. "We do what humans have always done when faced with dangerous knowledge, Maya. We learn from it. We improve it. We find a better way." Together, they began drafting plans for a new field of study, temporal engineering, with built-in ethical constraints and safeguards that would hopefully guide humanity toward a future where they could fold space without tearing time. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was a distinctly human one. Facing the unknown with intelligence, determination, and the unshakable belief that problems created by technology could be solved by wiser applications of that same technology. As for the displaced ships and their crews, they became the first citizens of what would eventually be called the Temporal Confluence, a community of beings from different eras and species united by a shared experience and a common goal, ensuring that the future remained open to infinite possibilities, unbounded by the paradoxes of the past. Maya Chen never returned to her simple role as a station engineer. Instead, she became the bridge between present and future, working alongside her own descendant to chart a course for humanity that would eventually take them to the stars not as conquerors or victims, but as builders and problem solvers for an entire galaxy.